All right, fellas, we're going here. So thank you very much for joining me on the High Button podcast, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
I know you guys said you have a sales call here in a sec, so you're taking time out of your day to talk to me. I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Anytime you get to talk to an NHL player and a doctor that started a business at the same time, it's a rare thing. I know a lot of people after hockey have a hard time finding, I don't know, not a calling, but just something to do after you're playing hockey. And the fact that you found this, you two came together, I think it's a perfect match. Or is that too much icing on the cake?
That's fair to say.
Is it?
DB and I go way back. I'd say about over 10 years ago now. We met when I was still playing with the Avalanche. I actually was just looking for a high quality supplement to take. I had a scare with one that I purchased off the shelves and didn't really do my due diligence. Luckily, I didn't get suspended or anything, but I later found out that there were some potential things going on with the brand. And, that's how I met DB, and we've been really close friends since, and he's been a mentor for me. And
cool.
The timing worked out well with my retirement and launching this new brand.
Were you living in Colorado when this happened?
No, it's a funny story. I mean, when TJ and I first met, it was early in the start of my last business. We were so small at the time, I answered the 1-800 number, and there was a random 1-800 call from this number in Calgary, and I picked up the phone and said hello, and it was this guy on the other end of the phone. And interestingly enough, he happened to be in Calgary in the off season when the phone rang, and I was there visiting relatives, and we met that night, and we've been close ever since.
That's wicked. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Something just happened in the NHL with a guy from Vegas.
Yeah, Nate Schmidt.
Same type thing?
I mean, I don't really know all the details, but from what I read, that he was taking supplements given to him by the team, and he tested for a banned substance, and he got a 20-game suspension.
Did that happen to you in Colorado? The things that you were taking, did Colorado give it to you? Or are you allowed to say? You don't have to say.
There's no legal matters or anything about that, but
he didn't get caught.
Yeah.
No, I went into a random store and said, hey, what could I take to help myself recover faster, sleep better, all the things you look for as an athlete. This guy gave me some multivitamins, and a couple weeks later we were in the gym. Our strength coach came in, addressed the team and said, hey boys, is anyone taking this brand? And it happened to be the brand that I was taking. So I was right away freaked out. And he went on to say that 2 U.S. college football players just tested positive for banned substances. And they said that was the only brand of products they were taking. So needless to say, I got off the brand right away. And luckily the batch that I had obviously wasn't tainted.
So it sounds like his story. Did you know, like before you met him, did you hear of other athletes having his problem before you met him? And is that kind of where you went, okay, wait a second, that could be a business opportunity for the field that I'm in? What was the first experience with you in that situation?
Well,
I guess?
You know, it's 100% spot on. Like, so as a science guy and a researcher for years, I had I consulted with a lot of different teams and athletes. And one of the things that athletes used to say all the time is, hey doc, what should I take? You know, what do you recommend? What's safe? And that's when I learned about the issues just with guys taking products and not really knowing what was in them. And sometimes just randomly testing positive for something that is not listed on the label for the product. So, and this is not even that long ago. This was 2008. So 10 years ago, wow. I created a brand that was specifically designed for athletes and drug-tested sports. And here we are, fast forward, and TJ and I have created our own brand. Again, addressing the very similar niche of athletes in drug-tested sport and plant-based, which is an emerging trend.
What sport do you think is the most common for this need? I'm thinking football for some reason. I just know that there's a lot of injuries in football, and maybe there's some illegal substances in order to get back on the field. Could be wrong, but is it hockey in particular, or can you name one sport maybe?
I think all sports in general. I think, you know what, that right now, I think you'd be hard pressed to find an athlete that doesn't realize they need to take protein.
Okay.
You know, like our dietary protein intake is terrific, and it's probably the best source, but with people with a busy lifestyle, it's really helpful if you have protein in a powder that you can just easily scoop out of a bucket and put it in your shaker cup, and away you go. And athletes in particular, because you're breaking muscle tissue down so quickly, and you've got to get rested and recover, and you're doing 2-a-day training sessions, and you've got to be at tip-top shape all the time. It's almost become a necessity. So I think athletes universally realize that they need to take supplements. And in terms of, which sports are more likely to be engaging in quasi-legal substances, I think everyone wants to be the best, right? So the temptation is there to really push the envelope. And I think if they have a really good, strong option that's legal, why not use that as opposed to potentially, affect your career and your reputation?
So when you're 18, how old were you when you were in the NHL? When you first got in there?
20, I believe.
So when you're 20 years old and he's preaching all this, did you know all of this? Like, was the nutrition side of the game, was that like an education for you? Was that nothing?
It's changed so much since when I first came into the league.
So do you take that into a business like a model, and try to not push it on younger athletes, but make them more aware?
Yeah, I think organically that's happened over the years.
I guess
when I first came into the league, you provided your own supplements, which is insane.
Oh, there was no like protein stuff in
There was nothing in the room. You basically went to the store, bought what you wanted for yourself,
really,
and took it. But I was in an organization that was, for lack of a better word, cheap. The Avs weren't really spending extra dollars, whereas there's teams like Toronto Maple Leafs who they take care of their players in a great way.
Yeah, and
even to this day, they're known as probably the top team as far as like giving things to their players. If they ask for something, it happens right away. So maybe it was just my experience, but even I'm trying to think, when I went to San Jose, I think it was a little better, but it's changed a lot now. So if you go into a room now, they're stocked with stuff, but believe it or not, a lot of it still isn't NSF certified, which is the highest level of certification for any supplements. And that's probably what happened in Vegas with Nate Schmidt. He was taking a product that the team provided, and it wasn't NSF certified. And look at him now; he loses a ton of money. People look at him now as a cheater.
Reputation,
Which I saw the stats. It was like dropping a pinch of salt or something in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That was the amount that would have been processed in his body.
That's ridiculous.
He clearly wasn't trying to enhance his performance illegally, but that's what happens, right?
It's just the reputation.
Yeah.
Like,
the biggest thing they always say is you're responsible for what goes in your body.
Yeah, that's true.
Doesn't matter if it comes from your strength coach, doesn't matter where it comes from. So, make it easy on yourself and take something that's NSF certified.
You mentioned the NHL organizations that you played for, and some better, some not better with the things that they're putting in your body. I heard a rumor, I don't know if it's true, within the NHL that like some teams don't provide good food for after games. Like on the plane, some teams will get pizza and others will get like shrimp and steak and stuff like that. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true for sure. And I think it's even more so on like off days.
What do you mean?
So practice day when you're at the rink, non-game days. So when I was in Colorado, again, after practice, there was no food after practice.
And some teams do provide food after practice. Oh yeah,
and then I went to San Jose and we had a full buffet after every single ice time. Even in the morning, we had an omelet station. They had the whole 9 yards, right? So it was like going from a terrible spot to something that was amazing. I don't want to get too graphic about my analogy there, but I had a great time in Colorado and I'm not complaining about anything. But for instance, we had our only breakfast option were muffins. So every morning they'd have muffins.
What kind of muffins?
Bagels.
Chocolate
nothing
chip?
Good, probably 50 grams of sugar in it. And, I knew nothing about nutrition back then, but what I did know is that we'd get our checks and they'd have a detailed explanation of what comes off of it, taxes, state taxes, so on and so forth. And one day when I actually took a minute to take a good look, there was a line on my check for bagels/muffins, and they were taking money off of our checks for those bagels and muffins in the morning.
Bad.
Are you kidding me?
Pay guys millions of dollars, but you got to pay for muffins and bagels. So that was
that's how the rich stay rich, man. The cheat, you can't be doing that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was funny to find that one out.
I like it.
I thought in the NHL, do you get food money? Like if you're on a road trip,
you get per diem. So it's $100 a day you're on the road. So you fly in the day before, and then you play the game and then fly out. You get 2 days worth, so you get $200 cash. That's which good. You run through pretty quick when you're going to some nice restaurants.
Some nice restaurants, some steaks and things
playing
like
cards
that.
On the plane.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you guys about the actual product, and I'm not going to try to pretend to be someone I'm not. I really don't know much about protein powder and things like that. But when I do go to GMC or Popeyes and I see a lot of products, a question that just came to mind was like, what are you guys doing to almost cut through the competition and, stand out there, I guess? Is that a fair question, or is that?
It's an incredibly competitive space. There are tons of options available, and some very good, and some very bad. And it's really hard as a consumer to know the difference. So, what's unique about our brand is that, first of all, everything is vegan. So every one of our products is vegan based, and not simply like some of our competitors, which are predominantly plant or animal based, and then they have one plant-based option. So anytime a customer buys one of our products, they can rest assured that it's vegan, it's cruelty-free, and it's good for the environment, good for you. In terms of the products specifically, like our flagship product is our Plant Strong protein. It's a plant-based protein. It's got 20 grams of protein per scoop. The protein in it comes from pea, pumpkin seed, and brown rice. So it's super healthy. It's loaded with protein, and it mixes and tastes as good as the best-selling animal-based product.
I just tried some. She just made me some. It's very good.
Yeah.
What did you say? Pumpkin seed?
Pumpkin seed. So pumpkin seeds are an incredibly rich source of protein.
Yeah.
Not to mention iron and a number of vitamins and minerals. So, the beauty of taking any plant-based product is you're going to get a lot of the other benefits of eating plants, such as all the phytonutrients that are typical in plants. So fiber, vitamins and minerals, and then of course with ours, our stacked protein content.
So like from a doctor's perspective, like I'm not researching what's amazing in a pumpkin seed. How do you know all these facts? Like, is it October and you're buying your kid a pumpkin for Halloween and you're looking at the seeds? Like, how do you know all these facts about these little pieces of nutrition? And then how do you know to put them into one thing? And then how do you know it's going to taste good? Yeah. And how does that all come about?
Well, the funny thing is I did research for a long time. So, I'm a closet nerd.
Yeah, that's fine.
I read a lot of things. I read scientific journals that most people never read. And
that's fine.
I've been doing this a long time. And you're right. I mean, I go through the supermarket with my kids and I say, okay, we should do this and we should bring that home. And your mother's going to kill me if we put that in the shopping cart. I read the scientific literature, and then I digest it, and then I pull it down and make it into a product and a formulation that actually makes sense, and it's really good for the consumer, and really good from a customer or from a company standpoint too. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys got a really good product here, and the fact that you're both passionate about it. And I think it's really cool that you both have so you're kind of like, when you think about the product, you guys have both sides of the story covered. You were the athlete, you were the doctor coming together. I think when that comes to selling the product to people, that sounds good for the consumer. That's what, at least when Riley told me about you two coming together, that's the first thing I thought about, at least. What about you, TJ, outside of hockey and this stuff? What do you like to do for fun? Are you looking at pumpkin seeds, or what are you doing?
You know what? Even when I was playing, apart from my first several years in the league, when I knew nothing about nutrition and was eating muffins for fuel before a practice and dying in a bag skate probably because of it. Yeah. But, my pregame meal used to be white pasta, chicken, probably Alfredo sauce, a ton of bread. I doubt if there were any greens involved, right? And you just get by on youth. And then as my career went on, I tried to learn more about nutrition and how I could help myself perform better, recover better, and just essentially anything I could do to just give myself just a tiny bit of an edge. Because every day, there's guys coming in trying to steal your job, and I'm happy with the career I had. But I think nowadays, especially, everyone knows this stuff. So for me, I like to learn all the time. I'm always listening to podcasts, and I'll be listening to yours.
Appreciate
a lot more
it.
now.
Say that loud. Proud. Thank you.
I love like all these like biohacking podcasts and anything to help myself feel better and my family. And I always joke that I'm going to live till I'm over 100. So,
oh boy,
yeah,
say it loud.
I had some bets with a couple guys that I've played with that I'll outlive them. So I gotta stay true to that. But I live an active life, and everyone in the office here knows that I can't sit still for too long. And even while we're sitting here, I'm always adjusting and moving around. But I think I'm always learning, and now I'm so busy with this that don't have too much free time. We're always on the road traveling. And
you guys are where you go everywhere, the States, Canada.
We're all across Canada right now, but we're on a plane pretty much every second week. Yeah, we're doing we do presentations, product training sessions. We meet with professional athletes. That for me, in addition to being the science guy, reading all the literature, I've spent a great deal of time around pro athletes like TJ and NFL athletes, MLB and NBA, and you learn so much by being around that group of individuals. Some of them have unbelievable good routines and practices in terms of their dietary practice. Some of them have unbelievably bad ones. Like I remember a famous Major League Baseball guy that we met in Florida, and I took him out to dinner, and he ordered the largest portion of onion rings and a supersized Diet Coke. And I thought to myself, that's how you eat? I'm thinking, man, that's unbelievable. But of course, natural talent and a great work ethic, but a really poor diet. And so I'm there saying, well, if you adjusted your diet just a tiny bit, maybe that would make a difference. Instead of, batting, 300, maybe you're 350 or 400. So
you see,
it's been great. Yeah, it's been, so my exposure to athletes over the years has really helped shape what we've developed here for a brand.
Do you notice a difference in younger athletes now? Because I know you said these younger kids, they want to learn, they want to make their careers last longer. Now when you go to, I don't know, St. Louis, and you talk to someone from the Blues, just in the top of my head. Yeah. When you're talking to these 18, 19-year-olds, is it different?
Way more interested, way more plugged in, way more aware. It's and that's changed so much in, just in the last 5 years even. Like a good example is we're working deals with different junior teams. Yeah. And one of the things we're discovering is that there's more junior guys now that are lactose intolerant than I've ever heard before, and in as much as 50% of the guys have issues with lactose. So if that's the case, you can't be taking some of these whey-based proteins, and you need a plant-based option. They're not quote unquote lactose intolerant, but they all have GI upsets when they're consuming so much milk-based protein. Wow. Yeah. So a simple switch to this will remove the quick runs to the bathroom, right? And urgency. And no one as an athlete getting ready to go on the ice or go on the field, you don't want to have to take a quick bathroom break before you hit the ice, right? You want to be focused and make sure your body is feeling good and working well, so that when you hit your sport, you don't have any of those simple complications that most of us take for granted because we don't have the issues with lactose intolerance or any other allergies. But it's more prevalent, and athletes now, I feel like, are more in tune with diet and nutrition and the impact it has on their body, and also the impact it has on the environment.
Well, when you say athletes now, and I look at the contracts that these guys are getting in the NHL and the amount of responsibility that they have at such a young age, like how old is Matthews now? 20, 21, whatever, but he's about to sign for 10 mil. I don't know. Was that like that in the past in the NHL? Like 18, 19-year-olds coming in being the franchise guy? Because we can all agree that the NHL is getting a lot younger.
Yeah, you kind of, I think back when I first came into the league, you kind of had to earn your every dollar really and prove it more than once. So, I mean, I'm happy for the young guys now. Like, the more money you can make, the better.
Yeah, of course.
But I remember, I don't remember who it was. It was a guy I played with. I'm not going to name his name, but he was pissed off because young guys were signing bigger deals, and this is just when it was kind of transitioning, and he said it took me 8 years until I got my first big deal. I had to earn it, and now these guys, they have one good season and they're signing a long-term deal at $5, $6, $7, $8 million a year. But he was an old grumpy guy, and not
not going to mention any names.
Not going to name names, but it's just it's the way it is now, right? You either are good and at the right time and you get paid for it, or you're not.
Any names top of your head that you can think of that were just like, not even freak hockey players, just like freak athletes? You've played with some amazing people. So anyone that was just like in the gym in the morning, in the gym after the game, always watching their diet. Just, I heard like Joe Thornton used to hunt or something before, not Joe Thornton, Stevens from New Jersey. Before practice, he would go in his backyard. He lived in the woods, and he'd go like kill deer before practice, put it on his truck, and then go to practice so all the boys can see. Like, was there anyone like that just had a crazy personality?
I mean, I played with a ton of different guys. It was a bit of a suitcase during my career, 4 different teams, right? So I'd say on the opposite end, so the guys that didn't really do a ton in the gym and were able to go out and perform, those are the guys that really impressed me in a different way.
Yeah.
So, for example, the big buff in Winnipeg, he got an injury once. I think it was his sternum or something, and he didn't skate for, I think it was 12 days. And he wasn't big on the gym. He wasn't going in the gym much either. So he'd just come into the rink, go into the sauna, hang out, and then pack it up and leave. And he's such a high-end guy, no one would really say anything to him. And there's different rules for different guys. Yeah. But he came back. He skated once. He played in the game the next night, and he played 30 minutes. So
as a defenseman or forward?
As a defenseman. That's a freak of nature that can do that. If I took 12 days off and played 30 minutes, I'd be crawling on the ice for the last 15, right? So guys like that really impressed me. And I'll tell you what, he wasn't really counting his carbs or looking for what protein source he was going to get. So it's pretty impressive, guys like that who can do it for so long, and he's impressive. And then there's other guys, right? Like Lee Stepniak, for example. He's been around forever, takes care of himself, the most professional that I've probably ever seen in the gym, doing pre-stuff before every skate, eating super healthy, always reading, always learning. So there's a mix of both, and he was one guy that I always liked to hang around with.
Who's the one guy maybe that took you under your wing at a young age?
Paul Stastny.
Cool.
We lived together my first 4 years, so we had the same agent. My agent kind of sprung it on him after my first camp. He said, "Hey, can Gali stay with you during camp?" Yeah. We had never met before, never even talked. He was a big star. I was just a young guy coming out of the WHL. And
little starstruck?
It just was weird, I think, to me. I remember showing up to his house and walking in, meeting his now wife, who was his girlfriend, and his sister who lived with him, and just kind of a totally normal, laid-back guy. But I think at that point he was already making almost $7 million a year. He was a rising star in the league, and for him to just say, "Yeah, come on in and hang out on the couch," and then that kind of parlayed itself into an amazing friendship. And after camp, he said, "Oh, do you want to stay here for the rest of the year?" And 1 year turned into 4 pretty quick. And he'd definitely be the guy that comes to mind.
That's awesome. I heard you're kind of an athlete too, Darren. Not kind of. It said elite on the website. So
well, I try to stay fit now. I certainly was active young, and I stayed quite active. But I think most kids growing up in Canada, you play hockey.
Of course.
I was never that great at it, but I was good at a few other sports, including flatwater canoe kayak.
Oh.
And basically, flatwater canoe kayak paid for me to go to university.
No way.
As a kid growing up in a bad neighborhood and 2 hardworking parents that couldn't pay for university, I focused on that sport that helped pay for my tuition. So that's kind of what was my start, is canoe kayak helped fund my education, and then it turned out I was pretty good at school. And before I know it, I'm graduating, and I'm a science guy and doing research on sport nutrition products and athletes. And fast forward, and here I am, a guy that's created a unique company, not once but twice, creating sport nutrition products for athletes, elite athletes. So I'm still pretty active, and I think I can carry my own. I got put through an interesting start of the workout today. TJ and I, we definitely work out differently.
Oh yeah,
and
CrossFit guys or what?
Well, no, I think I'm more traditional weights and I guess more beach weights, I guess would be the term.
Yeah,
chest and biceps. And TJ is definitely part of the new generation of athletes that are doing more core training and yoga and Pilates and some really unique different types of exercises. So it was a good experience for me. I didn't last very long at his routine, and then he did my routine. So I'm at least hoping tomorrow he's a little bit sore, because I know I will be from his.
Riley, we got to get in there and film some of this stuff. That sounds like a funny content.
You want to keep that off the internet.
No, we need the people need to see it. If you're talking about it, they got to see it.
Well, it would be embarrassing for me to see it.
No.
I wouldn't mind. I mean, this guy is like a fitness instructor in there doing the core stuff. And I was totally gassed after about 2 minutes of this.
Yeah.
But looking forward to working on my core in the future for sure.
That's awesome. A name that comes to mind when you're talking about more core related exercises, Andy O'Brien, Crosby's trainer. You know him?
Yeah.
He's a
very accomplished training fitness guy for sure. Here's
a story about him. I used to landscape for Crosby's place out in Grand Lake. So one day I'm mowing the lawn, and on Crosby's property, his garage is right next to his lawn. So that's where he trains, is out of his garage. And I'm mowing the lawn, and obviously when you're mowing a lawn, you can't hear anything that's going on around you. So over the lawnmower, I hear Andy just screaming at Sydney. He's on the squat rack. And I just hear this guy yelling at him, yelling at him, and Crosby's doing this weight. Probably one of the most intense workouts I've ever witnessed and heard over the thing. Anyways, when I went home and I Googled who that guy was, I read up on him, and that was probably like an introduction to like nutrition and hockey working out, was that guy. But I've seen him in and around Halifax before.
Yeah, he's well respected, that's for sure.
Have you ever met him?
Yeah, he consulted with the Flames when I played there.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and he came in, he was so laser focused, and automatic respect for a guy like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it feels like each NHL team has a guy like that now, because you said when you first started, like teams weren't really educated on the things that were going into each team's, or the players' bodies, excuse me. Does every team have a nutritionist now?
To be honest, I've been out of the league for a while now, but I bet you more places don't than do.
Really?
Which is surprising, but it's just kind of the league is it works its way slowly. They don't really do anything fast, and you look at the NFL, they're so cutting edge, and the NHL isn't the same. That being said, there's organizations within the league that are, but for the most part, they just kind of crawl along until eventually there's enough demand from the players that something changes.
So when you guys go on these trips and you say you're doing talks and you're talking to individuals, what's the point of these talks? Are you talking to athletes? Are you talking to other owners of products like this? What's the goal when you travel around the world?
It's a combination of things. We try to fill up our days when we're on the road. It's a long, expensive travel to get to the other side of this country. So when we're going, we try to line a variety of things up. So for example, on our last trip to Vancouver, we did meetings with our major trade partner, GNC. So we'd go in and we'd book off a room, and we'd do product training with 30 or 40 of their key people. And then after that, we met with a guy that used to play in the NHL with TJ for 10 years. And take them out to dinner, and we talk about our current raise, that we're raising money for our company and our expansion. And then after that, we're further entertaining. And I flew from our last event, I flew to the University of Regina to do a talk about startups to a group of kinesiology students. So, and that's just part of, some of that's our giving back, and some of it's our product training and building our business. So it's a combination of sales and just us being out and being accountable to, us as business owners, and us as healthy living people and promoters of a plant-based lifestyle. So cool. Doing a bit of giving back, and also at the same time brand building for our business. I'll
pick your brain a little bit here. You said the word startup. I'm trying to do one myself. I've seen a little bit of success, but if you had to give one piece of advice to anyone out there listening, maybe because you've done it a couple times, what's the thing that people should take home with them?
I think it's stick-to-itiveness, like being gritty. And when you feel like you can't give anymore, you just got to keep giving. And then just really stay true to why you are doing it. And know that it's tough and it's grueling, but if you're doing what you love doing, it certainly makes it easier. And lastly, I say, never do it for the money. The money will never bring you satisfaction in it. It's just too grueling just to do it for the money. You really have to do it because you are trying to make a difference for those that you're providing your service or your product for.
It seems like it's not work. If it's a startup and you're having fun with it, you love it. It seems just like it's not work. At least that's what I think of this. Like the fact that I get to talk to you, an NHL guy, you a doctor, you asked me 6 months ago would I be doing this? No. Like I thought about it and I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I invited a friend over. Yeah, it worked out. Then the next thing you know, I'm talking to a guy from the Mooseheads, and the next thing you know, we're talking to Brandon Prust, and the next thing you know, we're talking to business owners. So I see what you mean, but there's times where it's just like, I can't be doing this right now. Like I got to focus on money. But when you hear things like that coming from a guy like you, it puts it into perspective that one day it'll be worth it, hopefully.
Yeah, you know what? And you just have to keep chipping away. I think, TJ and I have been traveling a fair bit lately and working together. And I think one thing he could probably tell you about me, there's really no secret to me. I do the same thing every day, and the analogy is I just chip
brick by brick.
Yep, and it's just constant. It's just I'm a broken record, I think, in many ways. Like there's nothing. I don't think there's anything really unique or spectacular about me, except that I never stop. I just do the same thing every day.
A good example that DB is talking about is, for instance, our upcoming trip. We have to go to Winnipeg. We have a big presentation with GNC, but we try to keep things fun along the way. If you're always just grinding and doing these presentations and meetings, eventually you're gonna fall off or get sick of it, right? So one of the nice things about when we travel is I kind of try to pick the city that we go to, and when we're there, we set some fun things up. So, for instance, we're going to Winnipeg. We're going to fly right in, drop our stuff off at the hotel, go to this place called Thermea, which is a big Scandinavian spa outside, outdoor spa. So we'll hit that up with a couple of our key GNC contacts. They'll come with us, have a good time, go right from there to dinner with the same crew, and then go to the hockey game, and then meet up with a few of the guys after the game that I played with. And
you're gonna have to edit that out. People can't hear that it's that much fun, right?
Yeah, that sounds like a great time. Riley, we got to start doing stuff like this, man. Come on, we got to go to Winnipeg.
But you know what? It's not all fun and games, right? So we're having these interactions with these people along the way that are really key to our growth.
Yeah.
And sure, we're going to have some fun and have a couple drinks at the game and meet some guys after. But basically, it's all about growing our brand. That's in the back of our mind, that's the one thing that we always got to keep pushing, or else you'll stagnate.
But the key point here is it's fun. And we love what we do, even though he pushes me and I push him, and we have buttons, not the high button, but we push one another's buttons.
You do have a high button on that you don't even know it. Your second button, that's the high button. The top button is the top button. The second button is the high button.
So that second button for me is always undone.
Let's
play. There you go, right? I'm always buttoned up.
It doesn't matter as long as you got two buttons on your shirt.
The chirps.
Oh,
right?
no.
He's old school. I'm new school. I said I wore suits long enough playing hockey. I had to do it. Now you can't find me in one. I'll wear a blazer every now and then if I have to.
With the t-shirt.
Love it. All right, fellas. We're up on 30 minutes here. I know you guys got a call. I pretty much got everything I wanted out of you. You laid a good foundation down for me to understand your brand. I love the tip that you laid out about chipping away at startups, and I love the stories about the NHL days and how you guys came together. So I appreciate you guys coming on the podcast. We'll have to stay in touch. Riley will keep me up to date what you guys are doing, and have to come back on again for sure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Everyone that's listening, I appreciate the support. Make sure to go to all of our social media outlets, like, subscribe, comment. We are out.